Ambassador Threlzik adjusted his ceremonial robes as he entered the Grand Council chamber. The massive dome stretched high above him, its crystal ceiling showing the stars beyond. He had been to this chamber thousands of times in his 70 years of service. Today would be just another routine session, or so he thought. The chamber was filling with representatives from across the galaxy. Threlzik recognized most of them: the tall, elegant Zilthari with their 4 arms and silver skin, the stocky Grom who looked like walking rocks, the graceful Isari floating in their environment suits filled with ammonia. All of them were old races, civilized races, species that had learned to live in peace centuries ago. "The session will begin," announced High Chancellor Vormis, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Today we review the application of Species 741, who call themselves humans." Threlzik pulled up the file on his datapad. He had reviewed it before, but he glanced through it again. Humans, from a planet called Earth. They had only achieved faster-than-light travel 40 years ago. Such a young species. The hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing a human. Threlzik studied it carefully. The creature was small, barely 2 meters tall. Its skin was a soft brown color, not armored or protected in any way. It had only 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes. No claws, no fangs, no natural weapons at all. It looked fragile. "These humans come from the outer spiral arm," Vormis continued. "They have submitted all required documentation. They seek associate membership in the Galactic Council." A Zilthari representative spoke up. "Have they passed the civilization requirements?" "They have," Vormis confirmed. "They have unified their homeworld under a single government. They have established 7 colony worlds. They have shown basic understanding of quantum mathematics and dimensional physics." Threlzik studied the data about Earth. His eyes widened slightly as he read. The planet was a nightmare. Massive storms that could flatten cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, volcanoes that could darken the sky for years, temperature swings from deadly heat to killing cold, and the atmosphere, 21% oxygen. That was enough to be toxic to most council species. "Their homeworld is listed as Class 9 hazardous," noted a Grom representative. "How did such a fragile-looking species survive such conditions?" "They evolved there," said Vormis simply. "According to their own records, they are what they call persistence hunters. They evolved to chase prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. This caused some murmuring in the chamber. Most species evolved as prey animals or peaceful herbivores. The few predator species in the council had evolved on gentle worlds where hunting was more about patience than aggression." Threlzik raised his hand. "Have they shown any aggressive tendencies? Any history of conquest or war?" Vormis paused. "Their history does show frequent conflicts. However, they unified their world peacefully through diplomacy 73 years ago. They have had no major conflicts since then. We believe they have matured past their violent phase, as all civilized species do," added a Isari delegate. "The young races always fight among themselves until they learn better ways." The vote was called. Threlzik voted yes, as did most of the chamber. Why not? The humans seemed harmless enough. A little rough around the edges, perhaps, but they would learn. The council would teach them the proper way to behave, the civilized way. In a few generations, they would be just like any other peaceful species. "Associate membership is granted," announced Vormis. "The humans will be assigned to Sector 49, the peaceful zone. They will have all the rights and protections of associate members." The session moved on to other business. Threlzik barely paid attention. He was thinking about the humans. They were interesting, he had to admit. Any species that could survive on a death world like Earth deserved respect. They were stubborn, clearly, tough. But in the civilized galaxy, those traits were not very useful anymore. After the session ended, Threlzik returned to his quarters. He lived in a comfortable apartment in the council station, a massive structure that orbited the neutral world of Voss. His assistant, a young Vorani named Kessel, was waiting with his evening meal. "How was the session, Ambassador?" Kessel asked. "Routine," Threlzik said, settling into his chair. "We accepted a new species, humans, strange little creatures from a death world." "Are they dangerous?" Threlzik laughed. "Dangerous? No. They are small and weak. No natural weapons. They seem friendly enough. Just another peaceful species that wants to join the civilized galaxy." He ate his meal and reviewed other files. There was always more work to do. Reports from a dozen sectors, trade disputes to resolve, cultural exchanges to approve. The work of the council never ended. Before he went to sleep, Threlzik added a note to the human file. Recommend cultural exchange programs. The humans would benefit from learning proper diplomatic protocols and civilized behavior. Perhaps assign them a mentor species. Monitor for 3 cycles, then review for full membership status. He closed the file and went to bed. Outside his window, the stars shone cold and distant. The galaxy was at peace. It had been at peace for over 200 years. Oh, there were small conflicts here and there. Pirates, smugglers, the occasional border dispute. But nothing serious. Nothing that threatened the order of things. In Sector 12, far from Threlzik's comfortable quarters, something was stirring. The Krell Dominion, an ancient race that had always kept to itself, was building ships. Lots of ships. Their factories were running day and night. Their soldiers were training, but the council did not notice. Why would they? The Krell had been quiet neighbors for 300 years. They traded peacefully. They followed the rules. They sent delegates to council sessions. No one suspected that the Krell had decided the council was weak, that the time was right for expansion, that all those centuries of peace had made the other species soft and easy to conquer, and far away in Sector 49, in the peaceful zone where nothing important ever happened, the humans were settling in. They were building stations and setting up trade routes. They were sending diplomats to learn council protocols. They were trying to fit in, to be good neighbors, to show they deserved their place in the civilized galaxy. The human ambassador to the council, a woman named Sarah Chen, met with Threlzik briefly after the acceptance vote. "Thank you for welcoming us." "Ambassador," she said, her translator rendering her words in perfect galactic standard. "You are welcome, Ambassador Chen," Threlzik replied. "I am sure humanity will thrive as part of the council. We have much to teach you about peaceful coexistence." Something flickered in Chen's eyes, but she smiled politely. "I am sure we have much to learn." As she left, Threlzik thought about that look. It reminded him of something, but he could not place it. He dismissed it as meaningless. Just a trick of the light, perhaps, or a translation error in her expression. He did not know that Sarah Chen was a military officer as well as a diplomat, that she had served in Earth's defense forces before being assigned to the council, that she had studied every war in human history as part of her training. He did not know that when she looked at the council chamber, she saw not a symbol of peace, but a fortress with no defenses. When she looked at the council fleets, she saw formations designed for show, not for combat. When she read the conventions of civilized warfare, she saw a list of weaknesses to exploit. But she said nothing. The humans were guests here. They would be polite. They would learn the rules. They would fit in, unless the rules stopped working, unless civilization failed, unless someone needed to remember how to fight. Then the humans would show the galaxy what they really were. 6 months had passed since the humans joined the council. Threlzik had almost forgotten about them. They were quiet neighbors, causing no trouble, following all the rules, just as he had expected. Then the attacks began. Threlzik was in his quarters when the emergency alert sounded. Every screen in his apartment turned red. The emergency channel activated automatically. "All council members report to the command center immediately," Formus's voice said. The High Chancellor sounded stressed. Threlzik had never heard him sound stressed before. The command center was chaos when Threlzik arrived. Dozens of officials were crowded around holographic displays. The displays showed star maps with red markers spreading across multiple sectors. "What is happening?" Threlzik asked Kessel, who had arrived before him. "The Krell," Kessel said, his voice shaking. "They attacked 3 sectors at once. No warning. No declaration. They just started destroying everything." Threlzik pushed forward to see the displays. His blood ran cold. 17 council worlds were under attack. 18 stations had been destroyed. The casualties were already in the millions. Fleet Admiral Thonzar was giving orders to the council fleet commanders. Form defensive perimeter beta around Sector 7. Deploy all available ships to protect civilian evacuation routes. Send diplomatic teams to attempt negotiation with Krell Command. Threlzik watched as the council's response unfolded. It was textbook military doctrine, exactly as it had been practiced for thousands of years. Defensive formations, protection of civilians, attempts at diplomacy, proportional response. It was not enough. The Krell ships cut through council defenses like they were not even there. They ignored all communication attempts, When Council ships tried to disable Krell vessels, the Krell destroyed them completely. When the Council tried to evacuate civilians, the Krell bombed the evacuation ships. They are not following the conventions, a Gilthari officer said in disbelief. They are targeting civilian vessels. They are executing prisoners. This is not civilized warfare. Send stronger diplomatic protests, ordered Admiral Thonzar. Remind them of the conventions. Tell them that all species are bound by these rules. But the Krell did not care about rules. They kept attacking, kept killing, kept advancing. Over the next 3 months, Threlzik watched the situation get worse. The Council sent fleet after fleet. All followed proper military doctrine. All failed. The Krell were fighting with a ferocity that the Council had not seen in centuries. They fought like they wanted to win at any cost. Threlzik was assigned as a military liaison, helping to coordinate between diplomatic and military operations. It meant he saw everything, saw the casualty reports climbing higher every day, saw entire worlds go silent as the Krell glassed them from orbit, saw Council officers struggle to understand why their tactics were not working. "We are doing everything right," Admiral Thonzar said during one briefing. "Our formations are textbook. Our tactics are sound. Why are we losing?" A Grom general spoke up. "The Krell fight without honor. They do not engage in proper battle. They ambush our supply lines. They ignore our attempts at negotiation. How do you fight an enemy that does not follow the rules?" No one had an answer. During the 4th month of the war, a message arrived from Sector 49. The humans were requesting a meeting with the Council Military Command. "What do the humans want?" Thonzar asked irritably. "We do not have time for associate members right now." "They want to offer military assistance," Threlzik said, reading the message. The command center fell silent. Then several officers laughed. "Military assistance? From the humans?" said a Yasiri commander. "They have been in space for less than 50 years. What could they possibly offer?" "They have no dreadnoughts," added another officer. "No planet killers. No experience with interstellar warfare. What use would they be?" Thonzar waved his hand dismissively. "Send them a polite refusal. Tell them their offer is appreciated but not necessary." The war continued. The Council kept losing. 15 sectors now. 50 worlds destroyed. Hundreds of millions dead. The Krell showed no signs of stopping. They were pushing toward the core systems now, toward the heart of Council space. After another disastrous battle, Vormis called an emergency session. "We are out of options," he said bluntly. "Our fleets cannot stop the Krell. Our diplomacy has failed. We must consider unconventional solutions." "What solutions?" demanded a Gilthari representative. "We have used every tactic in our military databases. We have sent our best commanders. What else is there?" Vormis looked around the chamber. "The humans have offered assistance 3 more times. Each time we have refused. Perhaps we should reconsider." "The humans?" Thonzar said. "High Chancellor, with respect, they are a primitive species. They barely qualify as spacefaring. What could they do that we cannot?" "I do not know," Vormis admitted. "But we are desperate. And they keep offering. Perhaps they know something we do not." The vote was close, but eventually the Council agreed. They would accept human military assistance. Not because they believed it would help, but because they had no other options left. Threlzik was assigned to be the liaison officer with the human military contingent. It made sense. He had been the one to approve their Council membership. He spoke several Earth languages through his translator, and frankly no one else wanted the job. Working with primitive humans seemed like a waste of time when the galaxy was burning. The human fleet arrived 1 week later. Threlzik watched from the station as their ships approached. They were strange vessels. Not sleek and elegant like Council ships. They were blocky, heavily armored, covered in weapons platforms. They looked less like exploration vessels and more like fortresses that could move through space. Threlzik took a shuttle to the human flagship. It was called the Indomitable. He found the name curious. Most Council ships had peaceful names. Names of philosophers or explorers or artists. Indomitable was a war name. The airlock opened and Threlzik stepped aboard. The human crew looked at him with professional interest. They were all wearing military uniforms, dark and practical. No bright colors. No ceremonial ornaments. Just function. A human officer approached. She was tall for her species, with dark skin and short black hair. Her eyes were sharp and calculating. "Ambassador Threlzik, welcome aboard." I am Admiral Sarah Chen. Threlzik recognized her. She had been the human ambassador at their acceptance ceremony. Admiral, I thought you were a diplomat. I am both, Chen said simply. In humanity, we believe diplomats should understand war, and soldiers should understand peace. It makes for better decisions. She led him to the bridge. Threlzik looked around nervously. The human crew worked quietly at their stations. There was no chatter, no casual conversation, just focused efficiency. We have reviewed all available data on the Krell offensive, Chen said. We have analyzed Council battle tactics and the Krell response patterns. We have prepared a strategy. What strategy? Threlzik asked. We will require autonomous operational control of Sector 11, Chen said. The Council fleet can defend other sectors. We will handle Sector 11, autonomous control, but you will need to coordinate with Council command. Follow proper military protocols. Chen looked at him. Her eyes were cold and steady. Ambassador, with respect, your protocols are not working. The Krell are winning because they fight like predators and you fight like prey. We are going to change that. Something in her voice made Threlzik's skin crawl. It was not angry or aggressive. It was simply matter-of-fact. Like she was describing the weather. I will need to get approval from Admiral Thonzar, Threlzik said. Of course. We will wait. The approval came through. The Council was desperate enough to try anything. The humans were given autonomous control of Sector 11. Good luck, Admiral, Threlzik said. Chen smiled. It did not reach her eyes. Luck is for games, Ambassador. War is about planning, deception, and will. We have all three. As Threlzik left the ship, he felt a strange unease. Something about the humans was different from any species he had encountered. The way they moved, the way they talked about war, the look in Admiral Chen's eyes. It reminded him of something he had seen once on a nature documentary, about Earth, a predator watching its prey, patient, calculating, waiting for the right moment to strike. He pushed the thought away. The humans were Council allies now. They were here to help. Whatever strange cultural differences they had, they were on the same side. He would soon learn how wrong he was about what that meant. The first week of human operations was quiet. Too quiet. Threlzik checked the reports from Sector 11 every day. The humans were not engaging the Krell at all. They were just moving around, repositioning their ships, setting up what they called forward operating bases on abandoned asteroids. What are they doing? Admiral Thonzar demanded during a briefing. The Krell control half of Sector 11 and the humans are just floating around doing nothing. Threlzik had no answer. He sent messages to Admiral Chen asking for status updates. Her responses were brief and unhelpful. Operations proceeding as planned. Nothing more. Then suddenly things started happening. A Krell supply convoy disappeared. All 15 ships. No distress calls, no debris. They were just gone. 2 days later, a Krell patrol fleet found the convoy. The ships were intact but empty. Every Krell on board was dead. No visible wounds. No signs of battle. Just dead. Poison, the Krell commander reported on an open channel that the Council intercepted. They poisoned the air supply. What kind of monsters fight like this? Admiral Thonzar was furious. He summoned Threlzik to his office. What are the humans doing? Poison is not a civilized weapon. It is banned under the conventions of civilized warfare. Threlzik contacted Chen immediately. She appeared on his screen, her face calm. Yes, we used chemical agents to neutralize that convoy. That is against the conventions, Threlzik said. We did not sign your conventions, Ambassador, Chen replied simply. And the Krell certainly are not following them. They glass planets. They execute prisoners. They target civilians. You asked us to stop them. We are stopping them. But there are rules, standards of conduct even in war. Chen leaned forward. Ambassador, let me tell you about human war. When my ancestors fought, they did not have rules. They had survival. You either won or you died. We learned every way to fight. Every way to kill. Every way to win. Your species evolved on peaceful worlds and learned to fight later. We evolved fighting and learned peace later. There is a difference. Threlzik felt sick. So you will use any method? Any tactic? We will do what is necessary to achieve our objective, Chen said. Our objective is to stop the Krell from killing more Council civilians. We will accomplish that objective through the most efficient means available. The call ended. Threlzik sat in his quarters feeling deeply uncomfortable. He had assumed the humans would fight like Council species. Honorably. with respect for the conventions. He was wrong. The incidents kept coming. A Krell command station reported strange communications interference. Then all their ships in the sector received orders to regroup at a specific location. It was a trap. The humans had hacked their command network and sent false orders. 3 Krell fleets flew straight into a human ambush. Only 2 ships escaped. A Krell admiral tried to surrender his damaged ship. He broadcast on all channels following proper procedure. The humans responded by boarding the ship, taking all the crew prisoner, and then using the ship as a bomb against a Krell supply depot. When Threlzik protested, Chen simply said, he wanted to surrender. We accepted. We took prisoners. Then we used his ship. No rule against that. It is dishonorable, Threlzik said. Honor does not win wars, Ambassador. Victory wins wars. The Krell started broadcasting messages calling the humans demons and monsters. They begged the Council to make the humans stop. The Council, desperate and dying, ignored them. Threlzik requested permission to observe human operations firsthand. He needed to understand. Admiral Thonzar approved. Maybe you can convince them to fight properly, he said. Threlzik boarded a human strike ship called the Relentless. The commander was a young human named Captain Rodriguez. He seemed friendly enough, smiling and shaking Threlzik's hand in the human greeting gesture. Welcome aboard, Ambassador. We are going on a special operation tonight. You picked a good time to visit? What operation? Threlzik asked. We are going to disable a Krell listening post. It has been monitoring Council fleet movements and feeding intel to their battle groups. Taking it out will blind them in this subsector. That sounded reasonable. A legitimate military target. Threlzik felt relieved. Maybe the humans did understand proper warfare after all. The Relentless approached the Krell station silently. Human ships had something they called stealth technology. It made them very hard to detect. Council ships had similar technology but rarely used it. It seemed underhanded to sneak around. We are in position, Rodriguez said. Deploying assault team. Threlzik watched on the monitors as a small team of 6 humans in armored suits left the ship and flew toward the station using small thrusters. They attached to the hull and cut their way inside. What happened next would give Threlzik nightmares for years. The humans moved through the station like ghosts. They did not announce themselves. They did not give the Krell a chance to surrender. They just killed everyone they found, quickly, efficiently, silently. Wait, Threlzik said. Should you not give them a chance to surrender first? Rodriguez looked at him confused. Why, this is a military installation. They are combatants. We neutralize combatants. But the conventions state that you must offer terms before engaging. Ambassador, we are not playing a game. This is war. In war, you use every advantage. Surprise is an advantage. Why would we give that up? Threlzik watched in horror as the human team reached the station's command center. Instead of fighting the Krell there, they went to the environmental controls. One human started typing on the console. What is he doing? Threlzik asked. Reprogramming the atmosphere mix, Rodriguez said casually. Increasing oxygen content to human breathable levels. Threlzik realized what that meant. That will kill them. Oxygen is poison to Krell. Yes, Rodriguez agreed. Much more efficient than fighting them room by room. Less risk to our people. That is murder, Threlzik said. Rodriguez turned to look at him. His friendly expression was gone. No, Ambassador. That is war. Murder is killing for personal reasons. War is killing to achieve strategic objectives. We have an objective. We are achieving it with minimum risk to our forces. The Krell in the station started dying. Threlzik could see them on the monitors collapsing as their bodies rejected the oxygen-rich air. It took less than an hour. 173 Krell dead. 0 human casualties. The human team planted explosives and left. The station exploded behind them. Back on the Relentless, Threlzik sat in the observation room, shaking. Rodriguez brought him water. You are upset, Rodriguez said. You killed them all. You did not even try to take prisoners. Taking prisoners was not the objective. Destroying the station was the objective. We completed the objective. Do you feel nothing? You just killed nearly 200 beings. Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. I feel many things, Ambassador. I feel relief that my team came back alive. I feel satisfaction that we completed our mission. I feel tired because we have been in combat for 3 months straight. What I do not feel is guilt. Those Krell would have continued feeding information that would lead to council deaths. Now they will not. That is a good outcome. Threlzik looked at this young human. He seemed so normal. He smiled. He was polite. He brought water to a distressed alien, but he could also kill without hesitation, without remorse. How can you be kind and cruel at the same time? Threlzik asked. Rodriguez smiled sadly. Because we have to be, Ambassador. Humans learned a long time ago that you must be hard with your enemies and soft with your friends. We can be gentle. We can be compassionate. We can be caring. But when someone threatens what we protect, we become something else. We become what we need to be to win. Threlzik returned to Council headquarters deeply disturbed. He filed his report. He described everything he had seen. He expected Admiral Thonzar to be outraged, to demand the humans stop such tactics. Instead, Thonzar just looked tired. Are they winning? He asked. Yes, Threlzik admitted. The Krell are losing ground in Sector 11. Then let them continue. We are dying, Ambassador. The Krell have killed 500 million Council citizens. If the humans can stop them, I do not care how they do it. That night, Threlzik could not sleep. He kept seeing those Krell bodies floating in the oxygen-poisoned air of their station, killed by the very air that humans breathed. He finally understood what he had seen in Admiral Chen's eyes at their first meeting. It was not cruelty. It was not evil. It was something more terrifying. It was the calm confidence of an apex predator, a species that had fought its way to the top of the food chain on a death world, a species that had learned 10,000 ways to kill and had never forgotten a single one. The Council had invited them in, had asked for their help, had unleashed them on the Krell. Threlzik wondered if they would be able to control what they had released. 6 months into human operations, the war had changed completely. The Krell advance had stopped. More than stopped. They were retreating. Entire Krell fleets were disappearing. Command structures were collapsing. Supply lines were being destroyed faster than they could be rebuilt. Threlzik watched the tactical displays in disbelief. The humans now controlled 4 full sectors. The Krell, who had seemed unstoppable, were being systematically dismantled. But the cost bothered Threlzik. The humans were not just winning battles. They were destroying the Krell will to fight. They were using psychological tactics that made Threlzik sick to his stomach. The humans captured Krell communications and broadcast the sounds of dying Krell soldiers on all channels. They hacked Krell entertainment networks and showed footage of destroyed Krell ships. They sent messages to Krell families telling them their soldiers were dead, even when they were not. Just to spread fear and confusion. This is wrong, Threlzik told Admiral Chen during one of their regular briefings. You are terrorizing them. Yes, Chen agreed calmly. Terror is a weapon, a very effective one. Every Krell soldier who is too afraid to fight is one we do not have to kill. Every Krell commander who makes mistakes because he is panicking is helping us win. Fear saves lives, Ambassador. Human lives and even Krell lives. How do you justify this? The Krell started this war. They killed hundreds of millions of Council civilians. They showed no mercy. Now they are learning what war truly means when fought by a species that evolved doing it. This is justice, Ambassador. Harsh but fair. Threlzik could not argue with the results. The humans were winning, but he needed to understand how. He needed to understand what kind of species humanity truly was. He started researching human history. The Council had basic files, but Threlzik accessed the full human database. What he found terrified him. Humans had been fighting wars for their entire existence, not occasional conflicts like Council species had. Constant wars, thousands of them. They had names for different types of war. Total war, guerrilla war, economic war, psychological war, nuclear war. He read about something called World War II, a single conflict on their homeworld that killed over 70 million humans. 70 million. That was more than the entire population of some Council species. He read about weapons they had used, chemical weapons that burned lungs, biological weapons that spread disease, nuclear weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. And they had used all of these. On themselves. On their own species. The humans had fought each other with such brutality that it shocked Threlzik to his core. And then somehow they had stopped. They had unified. They had put aside their weapons and joined together. But they had not forgotten how to use those weapons. They had just agreed not to use them on each other anymore. Threlzik dug deeper. He learned about human evolution. They were persistence hunters, yes, but that only told part of the story. Humans evolved on a world that was trying to kill them. Predators, diseases, weather, other humans. Everything was a threat, so they adapted. They learned to make tools. They learned to work in groups. They learned to plan, to deceive, to ambush. They learned to throw rocks with enough accuracy to kill from a distance. They learned to track wounded prey for days until it died from exhaustion. They climbed to the top of Earth's food chain, not through strength or speed, but through intelligence, endurance, and sheer stubborn determination. They were not the strongest predators. They were the most persistent, the most adaptable, the most ruthless when they needed to be. Every other species in the Council had evolved on gentler worlds. They developed intelligence for cooperation, for trade, for building societies. Humans developed intelligence to kill more efficiently. War had shaped humanity at a genetic level. It was not just their culture. It was their biology. They were built for conflict in ways that peaceful species simply were not. Threlzik found himself in his quarters late one night, reading about human military philosophy. There was a human named Sun Tzu who had written about war over 2,000 years ago. Threlzik read his words. All warfare is based on deception. When strong appear weak, when near appear far. Attack where they are unprepared, appear where they are not expected. The Council had no philosophers of war. Why would they? War was an aberration, a failure of diplomacy. But humans had studied war like Council species studied art or mathematics. They had made it into a science. Another human military thinker named Clausewitz wrote, "War is the continuation of politics by other means." The Council saw war and politics as opposites. Humans saw them as connected. War was just another tool to achieve goals. Threlzik realized the terrible truth. The Council species had developed civilization first, then learned to fight when necessary. Humans had learned to fight first, then built civilization around that knowledge. War was not foreign to them. Peace was. He thought about Admiral Chen, about Captain Rodriguez, about all the human soldiers he had met. They were not monsters. They were kind to their friends. They followed orders. They showed mercy when appropriate. But they could also kill without hesitation because they had been raised in a culture that understood violence at a fundamental level. A message came through from Admiral Thanzar. Report to Command Center immediately. Threlzik rushed to the center. The mood was strange. Not panicked like during the early days of the war, but tense, excited. Something big was happening. The Krell have requested negotiations, Vormis announced. The room erupted in surprised chatter. The Krell had never responded to diplomatic overtures before. They had ignored every attempt at communication for 8 months. What changed? Someone asked. Admiral Thanzar pulled up a tactical display. The humans changed things. Look at this. The display showed Krell territory. It was full of red warning markers. Supply lines cut. Communication networks compromised. Fleet positions exposed. Command structures in chaos. The humans have destroyed the Krell's ability to wage coordinated war, Thanzar explained. They cannot supply their fleets. They cannot communicate securely. They cannot trust their own intelligence. The humans have not just defeated them militarily. They have broken them systematically. And now they want peace, Vormis said. They have sent an official request for a ceasefire and negotiations. What are the terms? Asked a Silthari delegate. They have not specified terms. They simply want the fighting to stop. Admiral Thanzar looked grim. For the first time in this war, the Krell are afraid. Not just losing battles, actually afraid. The humans did in 6 months what we could not do in 8. They made the Krell fear them. Threlzik felt a chill. The Krell were one of the oldest, most powerful species in the galaxy. They had almost conquered half the Council. And now they were afraid. Afraid of humans. A species that had been in space for less than 50 years. We should accept their request immediately, said a Yseri representative. This war has cost too many lives already. Agreed, Vormis said. Contact the humans. Tell them to cease offensive operations. We will begin peace negotiations. Threlzik was assigned to deliver the message to Admiral Chen personally. He took a shuttle to the human flagship. Chen received him in her office. She looked tired. There were dark circles under her eyes. Threlzik realized she had probably not slept properly in months. Admiral, the Council has received a request for peace negotiations from the Krell. We are ordering a ceasefire. All offensive operations are to stop immediately. Chen nodded slowly. Understood. We will comply, she paused. The Krell are broken, Ambassador. They will agree to almost any terms you give them. Do not be soft. They showed no mercy when they were winning. You should show wisdom now that you are winning. Wisdom means showing mercy, Threlzik said. Sometimes, Chen agreed. But it also means ensuring this never happens again. Make the terms harsh enough that the Krell never want another war. Make them harsh enough that other species thinking about attacking the Council will remember what happened to the Krell. You want us to be cruel. No. I want you to be smart. There is a human saying, peace through strength. The Council tried peace through kindness. Look where that got you. 500 million dead. Try peace through strength this time. Let the galaxy know that attacking the Council means facing humanity. That should keep the peace for a long time. Threlzik left the human flagship with much to think about. The humans had saved the Council. There was no doubt about that. Without them, the Krell would have won. Council civilization would have been destroyed or enslaved. But the price of that salvation was understanding what humanity truly was. A species that had learned to survive by being more dangerous than anything that threatened them. A species that could be kind and gentle, but could also be absolutely ruthless when necessary. The Council had invited them in as guests, as friends, as allies. But Threlzik wondered what they had really done. They had given a predator species a place at the table of civilization, and now everyone would have to live with that choice. The peace negotiations took 3 weeks. Threlzik attended every session as the Council's chief diplomatic liaison. The Krell delegation looked defeated. They had come expecting harsh terms, and they were not disappointed. Complete demilitarization. War reparations to be paid over 50 years. Council observers stationed in Krell space to ensure compliance. Territory returned to the species they had conquered. War criminals to be handed over for trial. The Krell agreed to everything. They did not argue. They did not negotiate. They just signed. The lead Krell negotiator, an old commander named Threxil, approached Threlzik after the final session. You have won, Ambassador. The Council has won, but it was not the Council that defeated us. It was them. He gestured toward where Admiral Chen stood with her officers. The humans fought well, Threlzik said carefully. They fought like demons, Threxil said. His voice was bitter. We have been warriors for 3,000 years. We have fought hundreds of campaigns. We thought we knew war, but the humans showed us we knew nothing. They fight like no other species we have ever encountered. They do not follow rules. They do not care about honor. They only care about winning, and they are very, very good at it. They saved us, Threlzik said. Yes, and you should pray you never have to fight them, because if the humans ever turn those tactics on the Council, no one will save you. Threxil walked away. His words echoed in Threlzik's mind. The war was over, but the Council still had to decide what to do about humanity. A special session was called. Every Council member attended. The chamber was packed. High Chancellor Vormus opened the session. We are here to discuss the status of humanity within the Council structure. They joined us as associate members during peacetime, but they have proven themselves in war. The question now is, what do we do with them? The debate was heated. Some delegates argued that humans should be given full membership immediately. They had saved the Council. They deserved recognition and respect. Others argued the opposite. Humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too good at war. They should be monitored, restricted, kept away from positions of power. A Grom representative stood. The humans fight without honor. They use deception and terror. They are not civilized in the way we understand civilization. How can we trust them? A Silthari delegate responded. They also showed mercy and victory. The Krell expected total destruction. The humans pushed for harsh but fair terms. They could have demanded the Krell be enslaved or exterminated. They did not. That shows wisdom. They killed millions of Krell, someone shouted. The Krell killed hundreds of millions of Council citizens first, another voice replied. The humans stopped them. We could not. The argument went back and forth for hours. Finally, Vormus called for order. We will hear from Ambassador Threlzik. He has spent more time with the humans than anyone. He observed their operations firsthand. What is your assessment? Threlzik stood. The chamber fell silent. He took a breath and began. I have spent the last 8 months working closely with humanity. I have witnessed their military operations. I have studied their history. I have spoken with their soldiers and commanders, and I have reached some difficult conclusions. He paused, gathering his thoughts. The humans are not like us. They evolved on a death world that tried to kill them every day. They learned to survive by being more dangerous than anything that threatened them. War is not foreign to them. It is part of their history, their culture, their very nature. Some delegates nodded. Others looked concerned. But, Threlzik continued, they are also capable of great compassion. I have seen human soldiers share their food with refugees. I have seen them risk their lives to save council civilians they had never met. I have seen them show mercy to defeated enemies when they could have shown cruelty. They are contradictions, he said. They can be gentle and ruthless, kind and cruel, peaceful and warlike, all at the same time. This makes them difficult to understand. It makes them frightening. He looked around the chamber. But I believe the council made a mistake long ago. We became so civilized that we forgot how to defend civilization. We created rules for warfare and assumed everyone would follow them. We built a peaceful society and thought peace was the natural state of the galaxy. We were wrong. The Krell showed us that. They reminded us that there are species that do not value peace, species that will use our kindness against us, species that will destroy us if we cannot defend ourselves. The humans never forgot that lesson. They carry the burden of being able to do terrible things when necessary. They are warriors who chose peace, not peaceful beings who learned to fight. There is a difference. Threlzik took a breath. I propose that we grant humanity full council membership, but with a specific role. Let them be our defenders, our guardians. When diplomacy fails, when threats emerge that peaceful species cannot counter, the humans will respond. They will be our shield so that we can remain who we are. You want to make them our attack dogs, a Yseri delegate said harshly. No, Threlzik said firmly. I want to acknowledge what they are. They are warriors who value peace, predators who choose to protect instead of prey. They saved us. The least we can do is treat them with honesty and respect. The vote was close, but eventually the council agreed. Humanity would be granted full membership. They would have representation in all council matters. But they would also serve as the council's primary military force. When conflicts arose that required military intervention, humans would take the lead. Admiral Chen was called to the chamber to receive the news. She stood before the assembled council, calm and professional. Humanity accepts this responsibility, she said. We will serve as the council's military arm. We will defend council space and council values. But I want to make something very clear. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from dozens of species. We are not your weapons. We are not your servants. We are your partners. We will do the difficult things, the dark things that you cannot do. We will fight when fighting is necessary, but you will treat us with respect. You will remember that we are people, not tools. If you ever forget that, Chen continued, her voice hard, if you ever treat us like disposable soldiers or mindless killers, we will remind you who and what we are. We will remind you that we chose to help you, that we chose to use our abilities to protect instead of conquer. That choice was not weakness. It was strength. Do not mistake it for anything else, Formus nodded. Your terms are acceptable, Admiral. Welcome to the Council as full members. The session ended. Threlzik found Chen afterwards in one of the station's observation lounges. She was looking out at the stars, a glass of some human drink in her hand. Congratulations, Admiral, Threlzik said. Thank you, Ambassador. She took a sip of her drink. This is whiskey. Human alcohol. Would you like to try some? I do not think my biology can process it safely. Probably wise. She smiled slightly. You spoke well today. You understand us better than most. I am still afraid of you, Threlzik admitted. Good, Chen said. A little fear is healthy. It keeps people honest. Just remember that we are also afraid. Of what? You are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Chen laughed softly. That is exactly what we are afraid of. We know what we are capable of. We know the darkness inside us. We spent 10,000 years fighting ourselves before we unified. We know how easily we could fall back into that. She turned to look at Threlzik. That is why we chose to join the Council. Why we help species like yours. Because if we are going to be dangerous, we want to be dangerous in defense of something good. We want to use our nature for something better than destruction. Do you understand? Threlzik nodded slowly. You are trying to be more than what evolution made you. We are trying to be what evolution made us and something better. We cannot change what we are, but we can choose what we do with it. They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the The Krell were rebuilding under Council supervision. Other species were hearing about what happened. About the young species called humans who had defeated one of the galaxy's most powerful empires in 6 months. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. They would never look at the Council the same way either. Everyone now knew that the peaceful Council had teeth. Sharp teeth. Human teeth. A young human officer approached carrying a data pad. "Admiral, sorry to interrupt. We are receiving a distress call from Sector 23. Pirates are attacking a Grom colony." Chen took the pad and reviewed it quickly. "How many ships?" "4 raider vessels. The Grom have no military presence there." Chen nodded. "Send the Resolute and the Dauntless. Rules of engagement: disable if possible, destroy if necessary. Protect the colony at all costs." "Yes, ma'am." The officer left. Threlzik watched the exchange. 6 months ago, the Council would have debated for hours about how to respond to pirates. Now they had humans who would handle it immediately, efficiently, without hesitation. "Do you ever worry that you have become too good at this?" Threlzik asked. "At violence?" Chen smiled sadly. "Every single day, Ambassador. Every single day." Below them, through the observation window, they could see human ships patrolling the borders of Council space. Silent guardians watching for threats, ready to respond with overwhelming force if needed.